Hello! I am starting a new series about answering questions, or maybe like kind of like journal prompts while I do my dishes. Yeah. Some context. I think I want to get better at being able to speak and be more eloquent in the moment. And I'm really curious if I stay consistent with this, will I actually see improvement? I think I will. I spend a lot of time already thinking, and I do spend time journaling, but usually the sentences and the ideas, I have to go through a lot of ideas and sentences before I reach kind of conclusions or like really important tidbits that I want to remember. So I wonder if I could get better at that, orally too. So, right, with that out of the way, I saw a really interesting prompt that was asking what are 10 words that I would live by. That's really interesting, right? Only 10 words. I feel like the first thing that came to mind are phrases that I would, or that I try to live by today. So one such example is results are a lagging measure of your efforts. I think that has actually been a big game changer for development, kind of my development of maturity as well, and just learning things. Learning takes time, and it's really hard to be, or it's really easy to be impatient with the process. I was really obsessed with the process for games, even for League of Legends. This is actually where I first heard this phrase, which is so interesting. I used to get coached for that game, and it was so difficult, and I didn't really have the natural talent for it, or maybe I just didn't put enough time. Who knows? So I got coaching, and on one of their podcasts with my coach, whose name is also Curtis, by the way, he like mentions this quote from like a book, and it really kind of made sense to me. You don't actually see the results of your hard work, or like you don't see the results of your habits forming, or you don't see them very quickly after. So for example, let's say right now I'm practicing piano. I'm practicing this piece, Liebesstrom, so fucking hard, honestly. I've been practicing for maybe like 6 weeks, and if I think about the output, the results, I have only learned maybe like 26 measures. Actually, that sounds like a decent amount, but more skilled pianists can read this, and it's like it took me that long to read 33% of one piece, so it's like, man, this is a long journey, and I don't immediately learn things too on the piano. Like I will work on 2 measures maybe, or maybe even 1 measure for days. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but it's like it's moments like that kind of help remind me about that phrase, or that's when I try to remember that phrase. It's like I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush to see the results, and I know that I will see the results. It will just take some time, and that's really been helpful for me in this process. So that actually brings me to another thing. So I wanted to share my tattoo. This one specifically, these arms. So it's actually related to that phrase, results are a lagging measure of your efforts. Because this tattoo is actually from a manga called Haikyuu. So Haikyuu is this volleyball manga where the main character, he really loves to jump and hit the ball. It's really exciting to score, right? And kind of what he struggles with is actually being able to do the fundamentals of volleyball, which isn't hitting the ball, it's actually just keeping the ball in play, you know? And so he's really bad at receiving the ball. He's like a complete noob, and he couldn't really play on the team because of that. But over the series, he practices, he works on it. You know, he's actually so consistent. It's not really shown much early on, or maybe it's a little subtle. But he does like really small things that kind of add up. So he's always going to practice, he's always practicing at home, and he's actually very dedicated to the game. So much so that he went to this high school that he has to like bike through a mountain to get to. It's like a 45-minute ride or something ridiculous. You know, and he goes to a school early just to go to practice. So of course, you know, when you stack all of this effort every day, you know, consistency is really key. That's kind of what I've learned growing up in my adult years. And, you know, the changes add up significantly. And, you know, this tattoo, he tries to, you know, or this is actually, these are his arms that are receiving a volleyball. And this is like in a very key moment in like the Nationals game. And everyone had given up hope in this moment because the other team like basically played everyone except for this character. His name is Hinata. And he was so locked in, and he had this whole arc where he specifically practiced defense. And he received it. And it was like the most beautiful receive in the whole series. And it was just so gratifying, so amazing to see the results. You know, the results of all of his dedication, of all his hard work, of his consistency. You know, it was beautiful. It's like, yeah, I'm getting goosebumps just remembering it. I remember how the imagery that they showed in the anime was like witnessing someone climb this mountain, and every step taken on this mountain, you know, I guess when you're climbing, you put like markers to reach the next point, you know, while you're climbing up. And they were describing it as like he found like the extremely most optimal point that only someone who had prepared so hard could find, you know, so that they could actually reach the peak. And, you know, it's so amazing, honestly. It kind of makes me think about the power of human efforts. It's, you know, I think a lot about this, especially with AI use being more prevalent. And it's so powerful how humans learn to do crazy things. Like, it's so difficult to receive a ball like that. But we have athletes that are able to do this. We have normal people, not normal people, but they don't have to be professional athletes. They just have to be people who play the game, who play it so consistently. Like, the human body is so amazing that you don't need really much explanation. You know, maybe to start playing a game, to start learning something, you need these tips, you need kind of the basics. But with consistency and also a lot of reflection, you know, improvement is crazy, and you just learn to do such amazing things. And that's what I kind of remind myself about hobbies that take practice. You know, eventually you will get a grasp of it, or I will get a grasp of something, and it might not even make sense. That's why it's so hard to teach sometimes. You know, like I remember my friend Matthew tried to teach me how to swim, and so have plenty other friends. You know, but it's so intrinsic to the body that you kind of question, how do you even explain this to someone? You know, so that's what makes me think when, you know, people are trying to use AI to do things. When I myself am a researcher in AI, how do we teach these models to do these crazy things? I don't know, you can't. I am a big believer in the power of our humanity. And yeah, just, I think all is out to say, like, phrases like that really ground me, you know. I don't even know if I didn't do 10 words, so I guess I'll just keep talking. Yeah. So maybe an easier way to find 10 words are just to talk about values that are important to me. So, you know, I talked about things like consistency, and also, man, fuck, consistency. I think honestly, consistency is a good one. That is a value of mine. Some other important values that I've learned to live by, and I really highly, that I've learned to live by, and I live by today now. Fuck. Wait, take a step back. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna quit that sentence. You know, some other values I like to live by today are vulnerability. So vulnerability used to be kind of hard for me in certain aspects. So I think vulnerability requires some emotional strength in a way, where I find it easy to share the good sides of me, you know, which already felt so vulnerable. Or maybe I didn't find it so easy. It was actually kind of difficult, but it was easier to share kind of very very intimate things about me that were close to my heart. So, like, for example, just being very authentically this personality that I use, or that I don't think it is like one side of me, you know. I choose to show this kind of fun loving, excitable person, very curious, you know. And so that in itself is already an act of vulnerability. However, I realized that I had a hard time actually facing kind of real stuff, you know, kind of just facing the other parts of me. So, like, whenever I was having a difficult time, I didn't open up to my friends. I would isolate. I would be like, oh, it'll pass. I'll get through it. You know, I didn't. I wasn't even facing anything. And I would often kind of distract myself, I guess, by being empathetic to my friends. Empathetic. You know, it's like I listened to their problems, but it wasn't a two-way street. And so it always left me kind of empty. You know, I was burnt out. I was burnt out. At some point, I couldn't even be friends with people. I was so isolated. But you know, I did a lot of work this past year. Actually, I even took a leave from work, and this was a big part of just like kind of facing the struggles that I had, kind of facing that I was honestly hitting a low point in my life. Yeah. it's hard. It's hard to think about, you know? But I've learned to trust myself in that process of being able to reflect and kind of see what I'm struggling with and to kind of sit in that, to kind of sit in the fears, kind of the negative emotions without falling for it, or not fall, without kind of sinking in it, you know, because the reality is, or what I've experienced is when facing difficult feelings, it's hard. I will cry. Honestly, I cry every time. It feels, because I'm not very familiar with it, or I don't have as much experience doing it. I've literally just been doing this the past few months. It's really emotional for me. You know, I go through like kind of these stages of grief each time. But the really amazing thing about sitting in these emotions and kind of like trying to understand them is that the clarity it can bring you is actually life-changing. You know, it's very akin, it's very close to processes of gaining enlightenment in your life, you know. It's really amazing. I used to feel like my life was very static because things weren't moving forward. You know, I was never facing the roadblocks or kind of the fears that were stopping my life from progressing. And going through this process of meditating and stopping to hear kind of the struggles that I'm feeling have given me such great insights on how I want to live and how I want to change. And so yeah, so vulnerability is definitely one of my number one values to live by. If I were to choose any value, you know, I think just being true to myself and to others and opening up with this power of vulnerability, I think I'd be just fine. You know, that it's very aligned to the way I want to live, which is to connect deeply with people, and to be able to see the world through, you know, through the eyes that were given to me. Or it's kind of a weird, that's not necessarily true. I think vulnerability helps me understand things that aren't me. It separates kind of, it helps separate the feelings and emotions I have that I often can project to others. Kind of helps me understand the world a bit better, I think. And yeah, it's awesome. It's honestly, it's helped me with connecting with art. You know, I can feel so much emotion when I am playing music, when I'm drawing, I'm using my eyes, you know, and you have to observe things so much. And it's easy to project kind of what you think it looks like. That's kind of like one of the biggest things I learned in my drawing class this year, which was just, it's really hard to see, properly, right? But yeah, so vulnerability is a big value. Oh, man. Yeah. If you've gone through all of this, I commend you. It's probably, maybe it's interesting, I don't know. I think it is. Actually, thank you. Thank you for listening to me. I'm gonna keep working on this. Maybe I should put a time limit. It's been 19 minutes. I am so unbelievably slow at dishes when I'm multitasking, but this is so much more fun. Yeah, I've kind of been procrastinating these dishes for a few days. yeah, I should get these done. So maybe I'll summarize the stuff that I've mentioned. So I think some words that I live by were let me think. It's results are a lagging measure of your efforts. Results are a lagging measure of your efforts. That's 8. Then I said consistency, and I said vulnerability. Woo! Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you want me to explore more values. I think about this a lot. I wrote a whole poem about how I like to lean on certain values in certain situations. You know, I think just kind of reminding myself of the power of my beliefs in these ideas, these emotions, have really brought a lot of strength to me. So I'd love to share more, but this is already 20 minutes long, so